Welcome one and all to an all new video. So in this video we're going to be doing a best of so far of 2024 for you guys. I got 10 films I'm going to be talking about that I think are the best of the first half of the year so far. So we're going to get right into that. Before we do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss this video and the other videos I put up. As always people, if you enjoy my content here on YouTube, definitely check out my other social media platforms such as X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Patreon. Pretty much post regularly on those, so definitely check those out. As always, people, let's get right into this. So welcome one and all to an all new video. So like I was saying before, we can do it the best films of the first half of the year so far in 2024. And I got 10 films I'm going to be talking about for you guys here, and just a little bit about them and kind of just my thoughts on them. So we're going to get right into it. So to start us off at number 10 on this list, that's right, number 10, is none other than a sequel from a 2021 film and also a rebooted film that was originally made in 1984 called Dune Part 2. Yeah, Dune Part 2. Yeah. So Dune Part 2, which is the sequel to Dune from 2021, once again directed by Mr. Denis Villeneuve. I put this one at number 10 on my list because not only is it a really fantastic film, the other 9 films just edge this out a little bit, simply for the fact that this is such an epic movie. It's visually beautiful, the acting is great, but Zendaya, who I think is absolutely one of the worst actresses around, I absolutely don't really care for her. I just don't think she's anything that special. The only film I've ever really enjoyed her in was Spider-Man No Way Home, where she actually kind of acted like a woman and was like not that typical MJ how she was in the first 2 films. She actually like had kind of like a, I don't know, like a girlfriend vibe for Peter Parker in it, and I liked that a lot more, and she just had a better sensitive side to herself. But in Dune, you kind of go from she's okay to, by the end of the film, hating her. And so that's one of the reasons why I put this down at number 10. I just didn't care for her role in the film. And once again, that was the same thing for the first Dune. I was so glad that her part wasn't super huge in the first one, and it was, a little bigger here in 2, but thankfully it wasn't so bad that it made the movie horrible. But overall, I think Dune is definitely one of the best films of 2024 so far, simply for the fact that what Denis did with this film was just utterly amazing, especially with all the great actors and actresses that were involved with the film. Visually, it was beautiful, like I said. The cinematography was amazing. The soundtrack, the CGI work they did with all the different types of, ships to creatures and all that kind of stuff in the film was just so well constructed. And so I think this was just a great visually appeasing film that was just very entertaining, and I think one of the best of 2024 so far. If you haven't seen Dune Part 2, definitely go check it out on HBO Max now. It's worth a watch. So up next, coming in at the 9th spot, that's right, the 9th spot in my 10 best of 2024 so far, is another sequel film that is a 4th film in a great franchise that started back in 1984 as well, and is a direct sequel of a film that just came out in 2021 called Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Yeah, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Yeah, this was a very fantastic film. I liked it even more than Afterlife. I thought this was even a better film. It felt a lot more like an original Ghostbusters film, like the first 2 films. And I also really enjoyed how amazing they brought this film to life, and given us a really solid sequel that brought all the great elements from the originals and added some new elements from Afterlife. Now, of course, you had Paul Rudd return, and pretty much everyone from Afterlife, Finn Wolfhard and so forth. And we, had, of course, had the return and addition of some of the greatest actors of the original series. We had Bill Murray pop up. We had Dan Aykroyd a part of it. Kumail Nanjiani was added to it, who was a great asset to the film. That was a great addition. But, Ernie Hudson coming back was really great. We had William Atherton pop up with his original character from the sequel, which everyone hated that character, and he plays that character so well. But overall, the construction of the story, I just thought made it a really great film for 2024. And not only that, but the visuals of the film were done really well versus some of the other films I've seen over the course of 2024 as well. And I also thought that because it was a solid sequel that really enhanced the story of the previous 3 films, that was another also a reason why I enjoyed this film. And the fact that they brought back all these great older characters really pushed it a little bit above Dune Part 2 for me. And just the storyline was a little better, I thought. And overall, I just thought that this was a tad bit more of a better film than Dune Part 2. But overall, the visuals, the great, landscape they got throughout this film as well was really done well. One thing I really enjoyed is that they finally added Slimer back in, and they actually used a actual puppet, a robotic puppet, which I thought was a great idea and really made it very similar to the original Slimer we got back in the 80s. And I thought that was a really, fantastic and awesome option to really give us that great feel of the classic Ghostbuster film. And I also think that makes this a really great film of 2024. If you haven't seen Ghostbusters Frozen Empire yet, definitely go check it out in theaters or stream it online. It's a great film. So coming in at the 8th spot, people, the 8th spot in my 10 best of 2024 so far, is a film that is an original film, isn't a sequel or anything like that, and is a really awesome action comedy film that just blew me away. And it's a great kind of independent film. And that is a film called Boy Kills World. Yeah! Bill Kills World. Yeah! This movie was absolutely fantastic. The action in the film, the fight choreography was so well done. The camera movement was all really worked out really well, and I think that compared to some of the other action films I've seen over the course of this 6 months, have been phenomenal compared to a lot of other films I've seen with the action sequences, because they really got in there in really great detail, and they really knew exactly where to put the camera, and I thought that just was a really fantastic point of view, and gave the film a really great edge and made the film very enjoyable. Not to mention that it has a really great cast in the film that I really enjoyed. Bill Skarsgård as the lead, he was amazing. The whole entire film, he does not speak one word, and he did a phenomenal job portraying that. And then, of course, you also have, great villains like Famke Janssen in it, who plays his evil mother, and you had a great other amount of great cast. Charlotte Copley was in it. He had a brief part in it that was really well done. And just overall, the action sequences, the blood and gore throughout the film was really done well too. It was campy, but at the same time was very sophisticated and still looked a little more realistic than you would be used to. And I just thought that the score was amazing in the film. And then the voiceover done by Bob's Burger himself, Mr. Bob, was freaking phenomenal and hilarious throughout the whole entire film. Because the character that Bill Skarsgård plays is a mute and deaf person. So I think that was really done well and made the film even more interesting, having that voiceover that was really fun and really inventive. It just was a really well-constructed film. A lot along the lines of like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It had that kind of vibe. And the whole concept was just a really interesting concept as well. I don't want to give too much away, but at the same time, this movie was just really spectacular, and I feel that this deserves to be on the top 10 of 2024 so far. It's an amazing film. If you have not seen it, I highly recommend stream it, buy it, go check it out in theaters if you have it in your theater still. It was a really fantastic film. So that brings me to the next film in this lineup, and that is coming in at number 7 on the list. Number 7. And that, of course, is a film that just came out about 2 weeks ago now, or a week ago, I should say, and is a fully CGI animated film that blew me out of the water because I just thought it was so well done. And that, of course, is the film called Garfield the Movie. Yeah! Garfield the Movie. Yeah, this movie was amazing. I was so literally impressed with it because between the voice cast, the animation, and then the story itself was so well constructed. And, you know, they got a really fantastic director who you might recognize as a director of a few Disney animated films. He also was, one of his biggest films, of course, was The Emperor's New Groove that came out in 2000 with voiceovers by the late, great Eartha Kitt, John Goodman, David Spade, you know, great cast over, but he did a phenomenal job with the film. I thought this definitely is a high praise for 2024. Simply for the fact that a lot of the films over the, like, say, the last year or so, and even the beginning of this year, you know, animation-wise or family films, just have not been anything that great. And this film really brought it back and gave us this really fantastic family film that had a lot of great comedy and a really great voice cast. I mean, you had Chris Pratt voicing Garfield, which I know a lot of people are probably going to be like, you know, I don't see him sounding like Garfield, but he actually did a really good job. Then you also had Samuel L. Jackson, Mayor Winningham, you had the great Cecily Strong doing a voiceover, who did a fantastic job, and it just was so well done. The music in it, the soundtrack was really impressive too, but the animation I was just really blown away with because every time they make a new animated film that's CGI, they get better and better. And this film did such a great job of giving us really vibrant colors, but at the same time keeping it soft and fun and very family. And it just was really well constructed of a film. And I think the high praise for it is that the voice cast just did such a great job as well. And I think Sony did such a great job of just giving us a really great story as well that was super fun. If you haven't seen the Garfield movie yet, definitely go check it out in theaters now. It's worth a watch, and it definitely, I think, part of the good, you know, top 10 of the first half of 2024. So next on the list of this 10 best of 2024 so far is a film that just came out back in April and is a horror film with a really great monster feature that just was super awesome. And then, of course, the film called Sting. Yeah, Sting. Yeah, this was a fantastic horror film. And not to mention one of the best creature features I've seen in a long time. Simply for the fact that the story itself was really well constructed, from the thought process to the outcome to the playing out in the film. It just worked so well together. And the writers on this film really knew what they were doing because they really brought back that old classic feel of creature features. You know, like those films from, you know, late 90s, early 2000s that were so fantastic. And, you know, it was just one of those films that just really embodied a great film that really was just really enjoyable, but at the same time very sophisticated in every aspect of what they did with the film. Now, it was visually very pleasing because the animation that they used for the giant spider, or the spider I should say, was really well constructed too, because it looked really visually, you know, real. It didn't look super fake. It didn't, you know, they didn't use really, I feel, too many animatronic spiders. But at the same time, when they did show the animatronic spiders, they did a good job of making it look really pretty good. It didn't look so fake that, you know, you were like watching a super B-rated movie. This was like Hollywood, you know, level, you know, done animation, CGI work for the film, and they did a really great job. Now, the soundtrack of this film was really done well too, and all the actors in it did a really good job, and the actresses, they all worked really well for the film. But the story is really what makes this film so fantastic. The fact that they have the spider's origin from the certain place, and at the same time, I like that they have it where it's not just like overpowered with other story. It's literally about this giant spider and what it takes on, and kind of what, you know, this family has to do with, you know, it becoming a part of their daily life that they have to deal with. And I just thought that they did such a great job with that. And not not only that, but everything combined with the the great acting, the great animation, the great soundtrack, everything about it just was really well constructed, and I think just a really fantastically done film. And definitely I think is a great horror film, one of the best of 2024 so far. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend check it out, rent it, buy it, all that kind of good stuff. I don't think it's in theaters anymore. If it is around your area, definitely check it out in theaters. It's definitely one of those films you like to see on the big screen. Definitely worth a watch, and reason why it's on my 10 best of 2024 so far. So coming in at the 5th spot of my 10 best of 2024 so far is a film that just came out beginning of last month, or this month I should say, and is a really awesome action comedy with a really great cast that really pays great homage to those great stunt actors that are never really credited for how amazing they are. And that, of course, is the film called The Fall Guy. Yeah, The Fall Guy. Yeah. Such a fantastic film. It's a little slow start to the film, but once it gets in, it is freaking amazing. It is such a great written film, such a great homage to the great stunt people out there, and just so well done. The storyline, the writing was really done well, the acting, the cinematography, the music was really awesome and hilarious. We had great parts in it that just were super well constructed stunt sequences, and David Leitch has such a great eye for that because he was a stuntman for so many years, and I think that this movie doesn't get enough credit for how amazing it was. Even though its box office wasn't that great, it's still a really fantastic film that should have made a lot more money because it was just so amazing. It was your classic action comedy rom-com type of deal that just was well constructed with lots of great action, that David Leitch just brought such great fight sequences, great action sequences that were just so on top and such the game. And I liked what David Leitch did with the film because all the actors really encompassed who they played in the film and did a really good job, from Ryan Gosling to Emily Blunt to Aaron Taylor-Johnson. They all worked so well in the film and made it super enjoyable. And I think because of how great the visual effects were in this film, and not only that, but the screenplay and the direction of the film makes it a great film of 2024 because it's so well constructed, but at the same time it had great heart and value to it, and it was such a great way of showing thanks to the great stunt people out there. And I love that that's what David Leitch was trying to do, and that's what he encompassed with the film, and how he was trying to show and give credit to those great stunt people. And I think one of the greatest stunt women is Zoe Bell. She is absolutely a fantastic stunt woman, and she's done so many stunt work and such great big films, from Death Proof to Planet Terror to most recently a great James Wan film that he did. I mean, she is just a fantastic and stunt worker and actress that doesn't get enough credit, I feel, for how amazing of a stunt person she is. And this movie is kind of showing that love and giving that love, and to me that makes it a great film and best film of 2024. If you haven't seen it yet, highly recommend you go check it out in theaters now. Check it out on streaming. It's a really fantastic film. Can't wait to add it to collection. One of the best of 2024, I think, so far. So coming up next is a great film that is a part of a great Warner Brothers universe that they created back in 2014 called the Monsterverse. And this is the second outing of these two kaijus together, and but the 5th film in this great Monsterverse series. And that, of course, is the film called, coming in at the 5th spot, or 4th spot, I should say, 4th spot. And that happens to be a film called Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. Yeah. Now, I don't have to give too many words about this film, simply the fact that you had me at King Kong and Godzilla. Right there is the best movie ever to me. You got great kaiju action, let alone just in those two names. I mean, Godzilla is one of the greatest kaijus of all time, starting back in 1954. King Kong starting back in 1933. And just these two great action monsters are just so fun to watch on the big screen. And this film just really blew it away from the previous films. I mean, not only with the storyline, which was a really fantastic storyline, but the animation, the CGI work they did in this film was so amazing. These kaijus, these monsters, all look so freaking real. And they did such a great job of bringing this whole universe to life and give us a really solid film that was so fun because we got to see a lot more of Hollow Earth, we got to see a lot under Hollow Earth, and all that kind of stuff. But a great freaking cast as well that was added to this film. Dan Stevens, who is freaking hilarious and awesomeness, and Brian Tyree Henry was awesome, and everyone in this was really fantastic. All did a great job, but those two were just so great together and gave us a really great performance. But the soundtrack on this film blew me away too. It was kind of like listening to the soundtrack for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2, and that's just how great leveled the soundtrack was for this film. And between that, the writing, the animation, the acting, everything about it was just such a well-constructed and conceived film that really over-encompassed 2021's Godzilla vs. Kong. It just was such a better film. Not saying that it's the great. I'm not saying it's the greatest of the MonsterVerse, but definitely high up there. I don't think it's way better than Godzilla vs. Kong. I think they're quite equal, but this one just a tad bit stronger than that film. And I think that this whole film is just going to go down as one of the greatest of 2024 because it just was so well done. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend go check it out. Check it out. Check it on streaming, see if it's still in theaters, check it out. It is such worth a watch, really great film, and one of the reasons why it's in my 10 best of 2024 so far. So coming in at the next spot on my 10 best of 2024 so far is coming in at number 3 on the list, number 3. And that, of course, is a great film that just came out a week ago or so, and is a family film again that was just super impressive. And that, of course, a film called If. If. Short for Imaginary Friends. If. This movie blew me out of the water, like literally. I was sitting in my seat, literally, like jumping for joy for this film because it just was so well done. Now, this one's not at my number 1 because there's 2 films I just felt were a little bit better than this one because of a few other little things that just made them so much funner. But this film truly was a great family film. I mean, from the great directing and writing by John Krasinski in this film, along with the great, talent of Ryan Reynolds and Kaylee that was in this film, and all these different people that provided their voices for the film was just so awesome. The whole story behind it is what makes this such a great film in 2024 so far. From the fact that the whole type of emotion of the film to the whole encompassing storyline, that no matter what age we are, that kid in us is always there, and we got to remember that, and that there's always that person in our life that's going to be there for us. And at the same time, that no matter if we're growing up or, we can't forget what made us who we are. And that's what this whole film really was about. And I thought that was so beautiful and so awesome and just made this such a great written film. Krasinski crushed it with the screenplay. He was so awesome with the story and everything. And then the visual effects, the voiceovers for the Imaginary Friends, plus the live action cast members, all did such a freaking fantastic job. And from beginning to end, the film was just such a beautiful film. And if you want your heartstrings wrenched, this film will do that because it just was so wonderful to feel a film that really encompassed reality again, along with, something that a lot of us probably had Imaginary Friends as we were kids. So I think it pulls all those things all together and just makes it such a great, fantastic, fully incorporated film that I thought Krasinski directed the crap out of. He did such a great job. And this is why this is on my third spot of the great 2024 best 10 so far. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend go check it out in theaters. It is amazing, visually beautiful, music is great. All around, a really fantastic, spectacular film. Check it out, people. It's worth the watch. So coming in at the second spot on my 10 best of 2024 so far, is a great film that's a sequel that is the fourth film in a great rebooted series that is just amazing from beginning to end. And that, of course, is the film called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Yeah! Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Yeah! Oh my god. This movie was so freaking amazing. I was literally blown away by this film as well. This year has been such a great year for just movies that blew me away compared to the last 4 or 5 years now that were level entry before the pandemic is what these films are doing again finally. And Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was like along the lines of, you know, Godzilla X Kong, that type of deal. The CGI is amazing, so well constructed. I mean, those apes look so freaking real, from the orangutans to the apes themselves to the gorillas. All of them, you think they are real creatures there that you're talking to, is how amazing the animation has gotten with CGI and, you know, closed motion and, you know, capture motion and stuff like that. It just is so well done. And the job that the actors do, the voiceovers and the motion capture, are freaking utterly amazing. And just this film from get-go, the animation, the you know, motion capture, the voiceovers, the story itself is so well constructed. And I love that 20th Century Studios followed the line of the previous 3 films and gave us exactly what we were looking for. And this is probably, I think, one of the best from Disney in a long time, over the last, I would say, last 4 years or so. And they really brought a really great game with this film too, not only by making it, you know, several generations in the future, and, you know, past when Caesar was around, and getting introduced to a new protagonist and somebody that's really cool. But you also have like this whole new dimension of what, you know, these different generations of the apes, how they've grown. And they did such a great job of bringing that story to life and giving us a really solid screenplay and story that just was great from beginning to end. The action sequences in this, the emotion, everything about this film was just so well constructed compared to some of the other things I've seen this year that was just so entertaining, enjoyable, and it felt like a movie again. And I just thought that this film was so well done. And from the directing, you know, by the director Wes Ball, he really brought that to life, because Wes Ball did a great job with the Maze Runners, and I think he brought that same flavor that he brought to those into this film, and he gave us that. Really amazing film. The cinematography is amazing. The dystopian look of, you know, of San Francisco, of LA area, and all that kind of stuff was so well constructed as well. But the soundtrack for this film, another reason this is such a great film of the year too, so far, is that it has such a great sound effects and great sounds and songs and just music in the background that just was really enjoyable as well. But so well done. And just overall, a really fantastic, encompassing film that just is so amazing, and I think one of the best of 2024 so far. If you haven't seen it yet, go check it out in theaters. It's worth the watch, people. And definitely, I think, one of the best 10 best of the first half of 2024. So that brings me to my final and number 1 pick of the 10 best of 2024 so far. And that, of course, comes in as a great Netflix release film that is so amazing. And then, of course, the film called Unfrosted. Yeah! Unfrosted! Yeah! Oh my god, I know a lot of people are going to be like, this is your number 1? Yes, it is. Not only is this one of the greatest directorial debuts, the writing on this film was so well constructed. not only did it have the feeling of a 90s film and writing of a 90s comedy and early 2000 comedies and so forth and so like that, this film encompassed what it was like for a classic 90s film like Happy Gilmore, like Billy Madison, The Mask, Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, stuff like that. This film was in that spectrum of those types of comedy films, and it was so refreshing to see something classic like that again. And Seinfeld did a great job of, directing it, writing it, and also being a part of the film too as well, being one of the main characters. And this was just a really fun kind of telling of, based on the real story of Pop-Tarts. And it just was a freaking great concept. The writing was amazing. The comedy, the jokes, everything about this film was so freaking good. The soundtrack, the funny special effects they did throughout the whole entire film were all on point and so well, constructed. And a great cast. I mean, from Melissa McCarthy to, great character actors like Justin Theroux and stuff like that. You just had this really great cast that just really brought it to life. But the writing of this film really is, I think, what makes this, for me, the best film of the 10 best, number one of that list of 2024, because of how great it was written. It just was so refreshing to see great writing again. And this film just does not get enough credit. I don't think a lot of people enjoyed it as much as I did, or some of us did, and then others didn't. But at the same time, I think that there's a lot of great value to this film that just was on the level of those great comedy films for the last 20 years. And I think Seinfeld did a great job of giving us that type of comedy again that was just super enjoyable to see. And like I said, it just, the whole concept of the supposed, based on the Kellogg story of creating Pop-Tarts was just such a fun thing to find out about too. That just was a great story, an interesting thing about a great tasty treat that a lot of us enjoy. So Unfrosted is my number one of the 10 best of 2024 so far. It was amazing, awesome, so well constructed, such a great film. Can't wait to watch it again. It just was so good, and I think it's one of the best of 2024 so far. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend go check it out on Netflix now. It is so good. So that is it for this 10 best of 2024 so far, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any thoughts on your 10 best of 2024 so far, or which ones you've liked so far in 2024, leave a comment down below. But as always, people, I hope you enjoyed. It was always a fun doing these best of, to kind of give a thought process of where we're at in the movie film of the year so far, this first half of the year. It's been great, and I just think it's been fun. Yeah, it's been really great, I think. I think it's been a really great start to 2024, I feel. But anyways, as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, like I said. And of course, if you've been here before or haven't before, don't forget to check any older new videos you might have seen yet. And as always, huge shout out to my followers, new and old. Thank you so much for being a part of this channel and watching. And like I said, if you want to support for the channel, definitely check out my awesome Patreon page where you can get all kinds of extra accoutrement that you don't get here on my YouTube channel, from outtakes, bloopers, merch, suggestions of what I do next, all that kind of cool stuff. So definitely check that out. As always, if you haven't seen me on the MCU's Bleeding Edge, definitely check out that channel too. You can find the link down below. As always, catch you in the next one.